How's it going, everyone? My name is Kase, and in this episode of TFL Classics, we're taking my 1994 Ram 2500 out on the Ironclad Trail here in the snow as an interesting little off-road test. And if you've been watching the channel, you might have seen a previous video where we walked through pretty much all of the modifications and work that I've done to this truck. So if you haven't, go ahead and check that out. In this video, we're just gonna see it in action. Just starting to get moving here in the old Cummins, and I've taken this truck off-road a little bit, mostly just light off-roading, like some of what you've seen over at David's property when we've raced this truck around in the snow. And there's pros and cons to it. I've got huge 35-inch Cooper all-terrain tires. It's nice to have big tires, it gives me clearance, but in the snow they're not particularly aggressive. Now, I'm on a steepish incline right here, and letting the clutch out in granny gear 4 high, no problems with traction. It just crawls right up. And one nice aspect of off-roading with a manual transmission is that I can let the clutch out, and it's kind of like I've got crawl control. I don't need any electronic programs to maintain a crawling speed. There's also pros and cons to off-roading with a manual transmission. For some people, they might not like the added something that you have to think about. They might just want to put their foot on the throttle and go ahead and go. And that's fine. And it works really well. It does add some simplicity. I grew up off-roading big old trucks with manual transmissions, so this is something that feels like second nature. One major disadvantage of this truck in particular, and really any heavy-duty truck like this, is stiff suspension. This is designed to carry around a ton of weight, which means unladen, it rides hard. And on bumpy roads like these, you notice it. It doesn't ride as smooth as a Toyota. It doesn't ride even as smooth as modern HD trucks. You definitely get kicked around a bit, because this is a very simple, durable suspension that's made to carry a lot of weight. It's not made to go at any kind of speed over a bumpy trail like what we're on right now. Here's a situation where the width of this truck might come into play a little bit. We've got some side-by-sides going by us, and luckily we're actually at a relatively wide part of the trail. But you can see how it would be problematic being in such a big vehicle if you're on your average off-road trail, which a lot of times is not that wide. There's a lot of times where you've got to pull in the mirrors and really think about how you want to move through the trees and take your time to make sure that you're not pinstriping yourself too bad. We have done some modifications to both the suspension and the tires on this truck. Sadly, at the moment, there aren't any major modifications to the springs. So to level this truck, we just threw a little spacer in the front. So it's still the factory springs, which means, again, the truck rides harsh. Eventually, I want to go to a soft ride front spring and a progressive rear spring, but it's money. It just costs a lot. So that is something that's going to happen down the road, but hasn't yet. If you look down here by my feet, you can see that I've got my transfer case shifter right here, and of course the manual transmission shifter. At the moment I'm in 4 high, because I've got granny gear with the manual transmission, which means I don't really need 4-low for the kind of driving that we're doing, but just to test it out, we'll go ahead and throw it in 4-low. I'm revved out to 2,000 RPM, and my speedometer isn't even registering that we're moving. So, yeah, 4-low gives you a lot of gearing to get over anything steep, which means you don't have to ride your clutch a lot. If you're on any kind of steep grade or trying to get over an obstacle, yeah, you're not going to have to work that clutch too much, which is nice. Now it's time to actually put this truck to the test, because so far we've just driven it through the snow on a bumpy road, and that's easy all day long. Now we're actually at the part of the trail that gets a little challenging.
So this is your rear tire, and your front tire is on that ledge. So your wheelbase is perfect to where both tires are on the ledge.
Are going uphill at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's, you know, really I think the issue is it's a big heavy truck. It's long and it weighs a good bit over 6,000 pounds. So it's a difficult thing to get that much mass up something like this when you don't really have a ton of traction. I mean, you can see this this that we're trying to climb up here, it is slick. So you can try and carry just a little bit more momentum into it one more time. We're here, so we might as well. But I think this obstacle might have me beat. So right now, obviously, it's snowy, it's icy, it's slick. My tires are decent in the snow. They are mud and snow rated, although they don't have the full snowflake rating that we see on some of the really good winter tires. But at the end of the day, it's just not enough traction to get this big heavy beast up this. Even tackling it with some momentum, there's only so much you can do. Now, this currently, the setup is open differential in the rear axle, open differential in the front. So as soon as the truck starts to get stuck, it's the wheel with less traction that just spins up. It really doesn't help push you forward all that much. So maybe at some point, if I get lockers or limited slip differentials in this, maybe it could get up in some of these icier conditions. And I do plan to do that, although that would be a couple $1,000s to get it in both the front and the back. And I definitely want to take this truck back here at some point when it's a little more melted off and we can really see what it does off-road, because the icy conditions are just a little too much. I love this 94 Ram. I think it off-roads as well as I need a truck to. However, if I was gonna pick a vehicle specifically for off-roading, I think I'd probably go for a Toyota Tacoma. They're small, narrow, lightweight, and that can help you out a ton on a lot of trails. This, it's got the ground clearance, it's got four-wheel drive, it's got low gearing, and that's great. But every once in a while, you just find yourself in one of those situations, kind of like right at this very moment, where you just have to pay that much more attention to how wide you are and whether you can squeeze through whatever area you're trying to squeeze through. Anyways, that's all for this video. Be sure to go back to TFL Classics for more videos on this truck and a lot of our other project vehicles where we'll be taking them off-road and doing work to them. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.